Welcome back to Atlassian Team 26. We're streaming live in Anaheim. I'm Alison Kosik alongside Christophe, Bertrand. You're getting late in the day, but I'm so excited for our next guest. You know, we've been talking about collaborative AI between humans and machines, and we're really going to get into it now.
And we're going to get some product news.
Yes.
Going to talk about some new announcements, the keynote this morning, as well as some great stuff around agentic AI. So we have the perfect guest for this.
Yes, we do. Let me bring him in. We've got Sherif Mansour. He is the head of AI for Atlassian. Welcome to theCUBE.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
So we did see you on stage this morning during the keynote. You had announcements this morning. Talk me through those and why they matter at this time.
Yeah, we had a lot of things this morning. I think the big question we're trying to answer is organizations and customers are thinking in the world of AI, where we all have access to the same intelligence, you have access to the same models and whatever. What's different? Does everything start to look the same? What's the meaning of life? Right. We didn't get to that last one. but the other two, so what's different? How do organizations stand out in the world where everyone has access to abundant intelligence? I guess our story was really around telling folks your context matters. And your context is a mix of what your organization believes in, your knowledge, your learnings, your decisions, your work, all that stuff. And so we were trying to communicate, how do we help customers grow that context? So make sure they create an environment where teams are sharing knowledge from various sources, making sure they're building on top of each other, and then how they can harness that context, so how they can use that context in their day-to-day work, how they can use that context to collaborate with agents on Atlassian's world. And our final set of messages really around how you can take that context anywhere you work. It doesn't have to be on Atlassian. We have the teamwork graph, and you can take that context to any apps that you use. So there were three broad categories that we went through there for our customers. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about teamwork graph. Explain it to me as if I were a 2-year-old, which I
feel like I need AI for this one. Yeah.
Maybe not. Yeah. Is there an AI agent for that? But yeah, just, break it down for us. So what is it and why does it matter? And really, I mean, you talked about context, but I'd like also maybe for you to connect it to something maybe a little deeper, which is it has to be based on a strategy.
Yes.
Has to be about strategy, not just context. Yeah. Let's talk about teamwork graph, because it's a great tool.
Yeah. The teamwork graph is really our way of ensuring that your organization's knowledge that's built out in any app that you use is accessible for agents and AI to use in a secure, safe, restricted manner. And so why is this important? If you type something in AI and I type something in AI, we get the same answers. Some might call it slop, AI slop. And so how do people prevent AI slop? When we're saying, hey, AI is supposed to help us and we're supposed to be differentiated, how do I do both at the same time? And the answer is in your context. So if I ask AI to do something for me and I give it specific information that's unique to Atlassian, my company, or what I do, or specific information, instructions, or work with another agent, I get a far differentiated result than if I didn't do that. A much better result, arguably, a much more unique result. And that becomes every organization's unique differentiator, is their knowledge and their context. So it's important for organizations to make sure that that context is accessible and it's not locked away, and they can use it and not feel like they have vendor lock-in. So one of our big announcements with Teamwork Graph was teamworkgraph.com, where customers can take their graph to any tool that they like. So they can build their graph and use it anywhere they like. It's very important for us there.
Let me double click on the strategy piece though, because in order to do that, you still have to know, to have intent, you still have to know what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't just apply AI to every process you have or every product or every team, right? Is there some methodology maybe to consider?
Yeah, there certainly is. And it's certainly in the world where creating code is cheaper every month, like it's fast, then knowing where to go, where to direct the ship becomes more important than ever before. So we have several products to help our customers with that. We have the strategy collection, which is a set of products that helps organizations define their company strategy, their focus areas, and how that connects to day-to-day work. So organization leaders can map out their objectives, key results, connect it to priorities, and let the teams also connect their work to that. So they get a bird's eye view of what's going on. And for teams on the ground, one practical way we're helping organizations is today we announced a new app in our many apps called the Feedback app. And that's in the product collection. So for software, for any folks that are building software out there, and that helps them get data from a bunch of sources that they've connected to their graph and help them work out what to build. And what's amazing is when that data comes in, whether it be from Zendesk or Intercom or Hendo, whatever they're using, they can connect that to their goals and objectives in that strategy collection. And AI can suggest, well, this is the customer feedback. You've said these are your priorities. Then I think these are some potential things that you could be doing as a result of that. So a really good example of humans directing where they want to go and AI assisting and accelerating that direction that they want to head.
So what does an AI native team look like running on Atlassian?
Yeah, it's funny. Like if you were to take a photo of them, what would they look like? I always wonder if they're like, if you could show what the agents look like, that would help us so much more. And when a lot of folks today out there that might have seen a lot of stuff in social media, or maybe engineering folks, they've probably seen engineers getting a lot of value from AI. They open up lots of terminals and they're like, all right, I'm going to ask this agent to go do this for me and this agent to do this for me. I'm going to go to sleep and wake up in the morning and then, check in on this guy and see how this person's doing. And that's happening. Agents will be able to learn for longer and do that. So an AI native team is one that can do that as a team. And so some announcements we made today is that you can orchestrate agents inside the Atlassian platform and take your Atlassian context outside the Atlassian platform as well. So teams, for example, one demo I did this morning, a live demo that was totally nerve-wracking for live demos. It worked, thankfully. Was being able to pull in agents from multiple sources. So we had a sales team that was preparing presentations with Gamma, had a Box agent that was doing document reviews, and then even had was Gamma, Box, and Canva for generating images. And they were dragging and dropping and orchestrating the work on their Jira boards with humans and agents collaborating. That's how knowledge workers can orchestrate together as a team and getting the most out of agents. And what makes that really important is, unlike that developer who's working with a bunch of terminals, that's just personal productivity. So that's me working with my agents, making me faster. But when we, like us three, do it together as a team, that's really elevating the whole team productivity. So if one person's used to be able to do 2 things at a time, now they can do 20 things at a time. Making sure that we're coordinating with each other becomes a bigger problem to solve. And that's where we think we're in an amazing place with Jira and the Atlassian system of work to help our customers do that.
Yeah.
Right. And what's interesting is that, back to what you were saying earlier and connecting the dots a little bit here is clearly model intelligence. Okay, that's great, but it's about the context.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it's context, it's teamwork, strategy. We talked to Asha about that as well. So things have evolved very quickly. Where are we 1 year from now? In your opinion? I mean, of course, you can try to guess.
Yeah.
We've asked this question multiple times, but so we'll be comparing notes, but it's going so fast. So a year from now, where do you think these products are, or what have you been able to achieve, or your customers more importantly?
Yeah, I think the big shift we'll see is the big trends. So I always feel like technology teams are often an early signal of what may happen to the non-technical teams. And I think history has proven that true to be for knowledge workers in general. So I do believe one big trend that has started happening already is knowledge workers will be working with agents that run for minutes and hours. I think that will happen more and more as the time goes by, and that is already happening today. We had some announcements today around Rovo being able to support longer running reasoning for that, and you could kick it off, give it a high-level goal, and it starts to generate code and work out how am I going to do this. It has access to a secure environment, spins up a computer, IT controlled, and looks at the different tools it has to achieve a task and get that done. So I would say in the next year, we're going to see tremendous movement in not just those engineers that are saying, I did something, went to bed, wake up, and it was amazing. I think that'll be more accessible to all of us. And we're spending a lot of time trying to make those experiences work on our platform. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say we already know about your onboarding agent. So NORA. Yeah.
Yes.
Great example of how essentially a non-technical team built a purpose-built agent for with a number of guardrails in place because it's HR, right?
Yeah, that's right. So all our employees at Atlassian that are new that join go through an onboarding experience with NORA, the onboarding agent, and the outcomes we've seen from that are amazing. Not only has it helped speed up our HR and product team onboarding, it's personalized per user because it knows that I report to this person and this person has these goals. So my manager has these goals. So it tailors its onboarding experience based on the objectives that are in the strategy collection to me, which is incredible. But the other interesting thing that's come out of NORA, I don't know if you got shared with you guys before, is the employees that onboard with NORA are like, I can't remember the exact numbers, like 20 to 40% higher AI use in their day-to-day work after they do that. Because it's like a fresh start from zero. And I think one of the hardest challenges with AI for all of us, including myself, is all the things I need to unlearn.
Right.
I'm just used to doing things so many ways. A few weeks ago with my chief of staff, we were trying to solve the problem of how do we keep each other informed all the time? And we'd have regular meetings where I would share with her my actions and what we needed to do next, etc. And we finally bit the bullet and sat together, created an agent, and I have an agent now that attends all my meetings with me, and it captures what I said, what I decided, what I need to do, and she stays in sync with that agent. And so we save a ton of time. So when we meet, we actually work on stuff together rather than giving status updates together. So that's like, I had to unlearn that behavior. It's not easy just to have another meeting, but then try a new way of working. And we kept refining the agents, and every now and then it'll make a mistake. We're like, oh, we'll improve the prompt to make it better. But now that's a really good workflow between me and her, where we work together with our chief of staff agent together. Yeah, it's really good.
What are the biggest concerns that you hear from enterprises, as AI just becomes autonomous?
Yeah, a lot. At the very, very high level, agent governance is a hot topic right now. And it should be. And in fact, we should probably be spending, as an industry, more time talking about standards and agents governance as well. We've made some massive announcements in the area that we shared with our customers today. For example, dedicated agent accounts can run, agent evaluations, administration control over agents, being able to see who created agents, being able to decide where are agents allowed to appear, where they're not allowed to appear, being able to decide what tools agent have access to. When you join a company, I decide what tool you should have access to and what you shouldn't have access to. Right. And then you have permissions, and you can see documents and can't. Same thing has to happen with agents. So I think that's a huge topic. That we're in a really good place with Rovo Studio, where customers can manage and control that there, and administrators. And the second big one is data protection and governance. In the world where we have the team graph and context, how do I make sure that AI is really good at specifying information? But if you create something and you've suddenly forgotten to publish it, AI will be very good at surfacing it fast. That's a huge problem we have to solve for all our customers. And so ensuring that is key.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with one of your partners on the floor here about this topic, and the fact that lots of agents are being created sometimes not exactly equal with, and they run on a laptop, and who knows what they have access to. So I think there's a tremendous compliance and governance issue, not just managing the agents or orchestrating them, which you are doing now, which is great, but also the data piece of it. And definitely having that full sort of 360 view is probably a requirement to really be AI native and successful moving forward. So again, we talked about 1 year from now. You've had a number of interactions in this conference. What's the most notable discussion you've had so far?
Oh, there's a few, actually. I was just at the booth answering some questions. A couple of, I think, some wow moments when customers open up their laptops and share how they're going. One particular customer, she operates a large data center. And one of the things they do is, she was showing me they write standard operating procedures for when someone goes in, what areas they're allowed to go in, how do you manage the server racks and all that kind of stuff. So she had Rovo generate some new operating procedures for her. And she came to me and said, like, this is incredible, amazing. And I'm like, oh, just,
yay.
Myself, the team's done a good job. And it was part of it was Rovo. But actually, the reality was, it was when she showed me the example, it generated an operating procedure with images and suggested which paths to go. And she was blown away about how accurate it was. And that, wasn't necessarily because of us. It was because of the context that other members of her team had already created. She worked in an organization of about 5,000 people, had already created, and she's harnessing that knowledge. She didn't know it existed. She was new to the company. So she was blown away. And this is where context is incredibly important. Those moments are always wow for people, because really the old garbage in, garbage out thing, if the data isn't accessible and being shared in a secure but also useful and transparent way, it's very hard for AI to work its best. And in this example, she was blown away. Partly because of Rovo, I'm sure, but the reality is it was unique context to her organization. So I love hearing those stories. Can go into another one if you like, but I don't know how much.
Go ahead. No, go for it.
All right. So the second person at the booth today was thinking about how they can make sure that they were worried about vendor lock-in to full transparency. So which they should. I was a customer of Atlassian, all that stuff.
Yes.
And he came to me talking about how one of the biggest concerns is I want to work with a vendor that it makes my data interoperable and all that. So one of the big announcements we shared today was the team graph that we create is not our graph, it's your graph. And I think that's a fundamental principle that I would hope every SaaS vendor, it's not my data, it's the customer's data. And so he was incredibly encouraged to see that he can take his data and connect it to any app that supports a standard protocol, MCP, or the specific agents that we're using was Claude. And he was like, oh, I can use the Teamograph CLI to integrate with Claude. And that was a really good thing to hear from him as a encouragement that, that's, I think everyone wants that. And so it's important for us to meet our customers where they're at. And it doesn't matter which app they use. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You're getting great feedback.
It's been a lot of fun.
And fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for stopping by theCUBE.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you're watching theCUBE, the leader in live technology coverage and enterprise technology analysis. We'll be right back.